good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you are watching this video. And welcome to the official 2025 ranking for Six Flags Great Adventure. Great Adventure has been my home park for the longest time I can remember. I have ridden all of these coasters a multitude of times, so I believe I have a good idea of how they stack up against each other. Unfortunately, at the time of recording this though, I am feeling a bit sick, so apologies if the audio may sound a bit stuffy, but without further ado, let's get right into the ranking. Kicking off our list at number 13, we have Lil Devil Coaster, a Zamperla family coaster. No surprises here, as it is simply just a kiddie coaster. These models can be found in many different parks around the world, and there is really nothing special about them. Aside from the mild laterals you can get off the drop when sitting in the back row, the train just goes through the motions of the layout, which is literally just a helix. Its ending is also very rough, as the profiling is just all out of whack. Although it does traverse the course 2 times, its ride time is very short, as it has a very small track length. Which makes sense, since it's a kiddie coaster. At number 12 is going to be Harley Quinn Crazy Train, a Zier Tivoli. With the most comically large trains ever, Harley Quinn always delivers a good time. It is a family coaster though, so it can only do so much in its layout, but those long trains make for a very interesting experience. On its many turns on the ride, the front of the train takes them at the usual pace you would see on a family coaster, and as it speeds up, that gives the back of the train a nice sense of whip. By that point though, the front of the train is already to the next turn, given the size of the trains. We also cannot forget its most iconic feature, the dispatch horn. Oh yeah, and also the fact that it goes around twice, but we don't have to talk about that. We like the horn better. At number 11 is going to be Dark Knight, a mock Wild Mouse. If this were a standard Wild Mouse, it would definitely not be up this high. But because of the fact that it is placed inside with many Batman-themed elements, automatically makes this one of the better Wild Mouses in the industry. Of course, it is just a standard Wild Mouse layout, with its tight hairpin turns in the first half and standard drops in the second half, but I still appreciate it for what it is. If you can get a group of 4 that genuinely enjoys their time on these models, then the experience is 100 times better, as an unsuspecting rider may not be aware of the strong lateral forces in those hairpin turns. Overall, a good filler coaster for the park, but is simply nothing more than that. At number 10 is going to be Skull Mountain, an Intamin family coaster. Nothing wrong with the coaster as a whole, since it does its job as a family coaster. There are some inherent flaws that hold this one back. Despite its incredible start with that curved drop, especially so in the back row, all it does is meander around its layout with only a few lateral moments or two. A single good element does not make for a great coaster, but Skull Mountain isn't really designed to be a great coaster, as it is simply just a filler coaster that the whole family can enjoy. Although I do wish they would restore it to its former glory with its banger soundtrack and actually working special effects. Again, nothing majorly wrong with it, but just not good enough to get ranked any higher than number 10 in the park. Coming in at the number 9 spot is going to be Joker, an SNS free spin. Being a free spin, you have no idea what you're going to get. One ride you'll get 5 flips, and on another you'll get 2. It really also depends on the direction you dispatch from, as starting off backwards will lead to mostly front flips, while starting forwards will lead to back flips. Personally, I am more of a fan of the front flips, as it feels more like a natural motion on a coaster. Plus you get a great view of the left side of the park. Other than that, it's a free spin, so there's really not much more to say about it. With it being the most inconsistent ride in the park, it simply cannot rank any higher than this. At number 8 is going to be Runaway Mine Train, an Aero Mine Train. Currently standing as the oldest coaster in the park, Mine Train has aged pretty well over the years. While not the most complex layout in the world, it serves its purpose as the park's main family coaster. I can appreciate what the first half does, as it mainly serves as a tour around Frontier Adventures where it is located, in which you can get some great views of rides like El Toro and Medusa. But things really start to pick up in the second half. After they drop off the mid-course, there is a bit of a rough patch in the helix that almost makes this unrideable. However, the train then descends into one of the best airtime moments in the park. No joke. I have no idea how that hill turned out that way, but I absolutely love that it's there and gives a bit of an introduction to thrill to younger riders. Always love a ride on this classic attraction, which is one of the more iconic mine trains in the industry. At number 7 is going to be Superman Ultimate Flight, a B&M Flyer. Despite being one of the weakest of the flying coaster model, Superman is still an enjoyable ride. Granted, it does basically nothing with its layout after the pretzel loop, but being in the flying position is unique on its own. Yes, I am aware that both this and Mine Train are only known for its one element, and it was pretty difficult to decide which element I liked better. For me personally though, I believe the pretzel loop is a tad better than the extreme airtime hill, as sustained positive G-forces, especially while laying on your back, is second to none on any other coaster model. Again, the ride as a whole is nothing special, but that one intense element is enough to carry it into the number 7 spot. At the number 6 spot is going to be Batman the Ride, a B&M invert. Now, I have gone into detail about this ride in my invert ranking video, so I'll be brief with my description here. Bottom line, Batman is such an intense coaster, as many inverts are, with its many moments of positive G-forces, whip, and incredible pacing. Compared to other coasters in this park, the pacing on Batman beats out a good majority of them, given how most of the elements are taken on this. Given its tight and compact nature, it is a bit on the shorter side, but that is mostly because it flies through its layout most of the time. While this ride does get overshadowed by others in the park, it should not be slept on, as it is a very solid supporting coaster. Kicking off the top 5 is Medusa, a B&M floorless. The gold standard for B&M floorless coasters, seeing as this was the first one ever built. While the layout does not exactly hold up in the modern day, seeing as there are many cookie-cutter elements featured here, there is just something about Medusa that makes it special. The first half on this ride is paced pretty well with some fairly snappy elements here and there. It also tracks well for its age, as there are very few rough spots on the ride. The only downside is its harsh mid-course. For whatever reason, after its renovation in 2022, the mid-course trims were turned up significantly from what it used to be. Some have speculated that this was an attempt to keep the intensity low in the second half, or it could just be as simple as wear and tear. Either way, the second half never wowed me even before the trims were cranked up, so it doesn't lose too many points because of it. Coming in at the number 4 spot is going to be the Flash Vertical Velocity, a Vekoma Super Boomerang. Coming off the 2024 Ride Purge, the Flash had some big shoes to fill, and it absolutely delivered. As the first Vekoma Super Boomerang to come to North America, Flash has some certainly unique elements for a coaster, the first of which being the stall. This element is quite possibly the best stall on any coaster, giving about 4 seconds of hang time in both directions. The train then immediately flips out into a double up, giving some decent airtime on both hills. Ascending into a classic 0G roll, the train then hits the spike and does it all again in the reverse direction. I have gone back and forth whether I enjoy the front or back row better, but there is no denying that this is a pure fun coaster overall. I wasn't expecting an elite coaster per se, but this blew me away regardless with its excellent hang time, airtime, and overall fun ride experience. Now we have reached the top 3, and at the number 3 spot is Nitro, a B&M hyper. As a wise YouTuber once said, you can never go wrong with a B&M hypercoaster. Nitro is one of those hypers that is near perfection in its layout and gives out plenty of airtime as a good hyper does, even though the profiling can get a bit weird at times. I mean, just look at that triangle. It doesn't take away from the overall ride experience. In fact, aside from the very slight rattle it has been recently developing, this is one of the smoothest coasters in the park despite its age. It cannot be understated the amount of airtime you'll receive on this coaster, as all the hills are perfectly profiled to give the maximum amount of airtime anywhere on the train. We also cannot forget that amazing upward helix that delivers some great sustained positive G-forces throughout, but is pretty much a guaranteed grayout. Although the mid-course does hit 99% of the time, that airtime finale is still one of the better second halves on a hyper, and finishes off this elite coaster very nicely. Coming in at number 2 is Jersey Devil Coaster, an RMC Raptor. Simply just a fun coaster to ride. I do believe enthusiasts hate on this way too much, only because it doesn't exactly live up to the intense pacing of the prototype Raptors. Since I haven't been on those original Raptors yet, I did not have many expectations going in for Jersey Devil. Even then, I still found that this was an amazing coaster with many flat-out fun elements on it. That drop in the back row is absolutely incredible, being one of the best airtime moments in the park. The Raven Dive is fine as it is, but serves its purpose as a sort of turnaround to the rest of the layout. The following sequence is then paced incredibly as the train hits back-to-back elements in the massive airtime hill, stall, crow's nest, and zero G-roll. Now, I do understand why people hate on this, and that is because of the second half pacing. The second half doesn't exactly do too much, with some average airtime hills taken at a speed that sometimes doesn't even give airtime, but that strong first half makes up for that lackluster ending. It can be a bit inconsistent regarding the speed it runs at, but overall it does run decently well, making for an amazing ride experience. And coming in at our number 1 spot, to the shock of absolutely nobody, is El Toro, an Intamin prefab Woody. I won't lie, I was not a fan of this when I first rode it as a kid. But as I slowly began to appreciate airtime more and more, I began to fall in love with this ride. I think this love might honestly be an addiction at this point, seeing as this is my most ridden ride out of any coaster in this park, and quite possibly out of all the coasters I have ridden. It is almost indescribable what a back row ride is like, as the first drop on this coaster is unlike anything else. Of course, we can't talk about El Toro without mentioning the airtime. The 2 main camelbacks featured on Toro are some of the strongest moments of ejector airtime on any coaster period, and the ride would not be the same without them. Now, this ride is not exactly perfect, as the middle of the ride does not match the intensity of the first and second halves, but I like to think of it as a break from the action in between intense elements. I could probably talk about Toro for hours, but unfortunately I do have to wrap up this video, so I'll stop my rambling for now. Amazing coaster to wrap up this list, and one that will always live on in my heart. That will just about do it for the 2025 Great Adventure Ranking. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and also how you would rank these coasters differently. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and of course, subscribe for more theme park content. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.